You at the top of the show, tens of thousands of members of the United Auto Workers could hit the picket lines at midnight tonight, and the strike could impact about 3,000 workers in our region.
But how would this impact the car industry as a whole, and you possibly? To talk more about this, we are joined by Fred Floss, an economics professor at Buffalo State University. Fred, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for inviting me.
So first, just give us your simplified breakdown. What is the union asking for? Really, what is keeping these two sides so far apart?
Well, there are a number of issues. The first one is obviously money. And we can see that there was inflation over the last year or two. So that means that the workers have seen their payroll checks erode. They want to get some of that back. So they're asking for 40% over a number of years. So we shouldn't think about that as 40% in 1 year. Ford has been offering 20%. So they're not quite as far apart as you might start to think on salary. But they're going to be worried about their pensions. A lot of the older workers have been working for 30 or 40 years. They want to make sure that their pensions are secure. And we can see a lot of other industries where that hasn't been the case. So there needs to be a fight for that. The other thing that's probably important to the union is they have a lot of workers now who are younger, who have only been there for a few years. Many of them are temporary employees that aren't in all of these programs, and they've been working 7 days a week. They've been working 60 hours a week. That's probably too much. So they're pushing back and saying, we need better work rules. We need to be able to have some time off. Obviously, from the company's standpoint, they want to have as much profits as possible, so they're pushing in the opposite direction.
History might be able to tell us a lot in this instance. This is not the first labor dispute that has happened among the big three automakers, the UAW. There have been others. What is the last time we've had a strike of this size, at least the potential on the horizon there, and what was the fallout? Because you do have to figure, when you're talking about these size of companies, it's not going to have a neutral impact on the economy.
No, and even over the last couple of years, we've seen strikes at UAW plants. So traditionally, there have been strikes in the auto industry. They're usually in the summer. This is a little bit different than what the traditional strike pattern would be, but it's going to have an impact just not on the major companies, but their parts suppliers who are partly in Western New York, then the people who supply parts to the parts suppliers, and then the supermarkets, the drugstores, all of us, because these folks aren't going to be getting paid. So we could see a national input into all of this stuff. And the real question that's out there is, could this push us into a recession?
Sure.
We look like we've gotten out of it, but this could be something that would push us back into that concern.
And to go off, the federal level, say there's no agreement, I'm curious, what power does President Joe Biden have? How does this differ from when the rail strike or the airline workers went on strike?
He could say that this is of national interest and tell people to have a cooling off period, which would send everybody back to work, and then you would have a federal mediator come in and try to come up with a solution. So the federal government could do something. It's probably not the first best solution. A small strike of a few days where the CEOs can prove to their shareholders that they're being tough and not giving away the store, and as a union leader myself, being tough so that my members know that I worked as hard as I could for them. So both sides may want to strike for a couple of days and then come together and try to get something done.
We always ask questions about perhaps what the impact could be on the nation's economy. Maybe if you were in the market for buying a car in the next month or two, what impact this could have. Let's talk about what impact this could have on the workers themselves. These men and women who will be walking the picket line, could be walking the picket line in less than 8 hours. You're talking about a union the size of the UAW, one of our nation's strongest and largest. Do they have the capability to allow their members to strike and still get paid, still get the strike pay, still get the COBRA benefits, all of those things? Because of their size and their strength, are they well suited to last a strike of this size?
They've been putting away money for a long time. Now, that doesn't mean that when you go out on strike, you get your full salary.
Right.
So it's like $500 a week. For a lot of people, you're not, if you have a lot of children, particularly at the beginning of school, that's not a lot of money. So the workers are going to have a hardship. If they're going to stand up and strike, they really need to get something, and they got to believe in what they're striking about. So the strike fund will allow the union to continue a strike a lot longer than if nobody was getting paid. But at this point, when you go on strike, you don't get paid from your company.
All right. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have. Fred, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your insight with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
We'll be right back after the break.